life sciences experience and innovative technology to develop and define digital marketing strategies for healthcare companies so that they can build their digital voice, increase awareness, and drive leads, positioning themselves effectively in the competitive life sciences marketplace. So with that, in this episode of Life Science Success, my guest is Nusqe Spanton. Nusqe is the founder and CEO of Provectus Algae. He's an aquaculture and algae expert with nearly 2 decades of experience working in international aquacultural production, marine biotechnology, and corporate management. So with that, welcome, Nusqe.
Thanks, Don. Great to be talking with you today.
Yeah, same here. I'm sorry for butchering your name. I
No, that's
originally
fine.
had your name pictured in my head just slightly differently, and so sorry about that.
No problem at all. It's a common thing. I don't take offense to anything.
Thank you very much. And so, could you tell the listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. So myself, I'm a long-term background in agriculture and aquaculture, and spent a good part of 18 years in aquaculture in the pearl oyster industry, producing luxury goods and pearls from a farming perspective. Spent almost a decade in Southeast Asia on farms and operations, and all the way through into retail operations as well. Technical background, scientific background in marine biotechnology, cloning, selective breeding, genomics, and have done a lot of work in the marine biotechnology space in the pearl industry prior to founding Provectus Algae in 2018, and over the last 5 years have been working towards building a new industry and new biomanufacturing industry using photosynthetic organisms like algae.
Yeah, and I really am looking forward to hopping into this topic because as we were talking about, ahead of the show, I've done a little bit of growing algae as well for a saltwater aquarium that I had, and breeding fish and things like that. So I'm familiar with sides of this, but I'm also very interested in terms of the applications on the life sciences side. So yeah, thanks a lot for that. So, tell us a little bit about Provectus and what led you to found the company.
Yeah, so at Provectus, essentially we program algae to make better products more sustainably, and we do that by basically what we've built is an AI and big data enabled biomanufacturing process that allows us to use photosynthetic organisms as cell factories for the production of materials and ingredients. And what we're really looking to do is make manufacturing of products and ingredients for ag, cosmetics, life sciences and biotech more sustainable by using carbon dioxide that's taken from the atmosphere and converting that into a specialty ingredient. And if we can do that, we can have some serious impact on the planet. How did we come about? Well, after a long term in the aquaculture space and building and growing algae systems to feed oysters, bivalve hatcheries, I knew there was a lot of opportunity. A lot of what we used to do in my previous career was develop nutritional profiles in microalgae to be able to feed oysters to make them grow faster, have higher survival, and ultimately grow better pearls to sell on the open market. And so I knew there was a lot of opportunity in microalgae, and using our photosynthetic organism had a real opportunity to convert the way that we think about producing raw materials and ingredients. But there was a lot of challenges that came around that. And over the last 40 years since we've been growing photosynthetic microorganisms, it's been extremely difficult to grow them at industrial scale. And that's because our understanding of photosynthesis is really limited. And the ability to understand how light works when it goes through water is very, very complex. And so what we set out to do was build technology that made it easier to cultivate these organisms. And then what that really enabled us to do is start to peek inside and see what these organisms are really capable of producing. And what we found from that is huge opportunities to transform the way we produce everyday goods and services, everyday products that we use, from food to cosmetics to agriculture to pharmaceuticals and everything in between. But really, the big challenge there is taking something from bench scale and converting that all the way into very large scale industrial processes, which really, if we're looking at the global scale of things, nobody's really hit the nail on the head for photosynthetic organisms to date. And so we set out to solve some of those challenges and be able to take that to really industrial scale and solve some really major applications.
That's really interesting. And can you tell me a little bit more about the application inside of life sciences? I'm just not as familiar with sort of where these types of products would be used.
Yeah, perfect. So we've got two streams of development in which we can use both bioengineered products, and we've built a chassis and a platform for the production of peptides and proteins. And we're working on an oral delivery system for fertility treatments currently. So really utilizing algae as a cell factory for the production of peptides and proteins that then can be delivered orally to convert injectables across to oral delivery systems. And we see algae as a real differentiator in being able to do this. It has some really key things that allow it to pass through the stomach intact and deliver the targeted product into the gut, where it can then cross over into the bloodstream and then be delivered into the target area. So we see one application where that's really unique for algae, and we're developing out fertility treatments where we see huge applications in oral fertility. We also have a natural product stream in which we are building a very large big data application using metabolomics and genomic sequencing of algae cultures and algae species. And we've built an AI platform that allows us to identify unique materials and products within those algae species that can be utilized for certain applications and target applications. And that goes across many consumer goods applications, but also into the life science space and pharmaceuticals as well. And what we're looking to do is really think about how we can deliver unique and targeted applications using microalgae as the production system.
What's really interesting to me about that is that that in addition to the other things that you're working on, that AI again sort of works into this as well. Is the AI something that your clients are able to see and sort of understand its output, or is it something that's more internally used?
Yeah, so we use a whole range of different types of AI, from machine learning and computer vision analytics in the production systems to be able to identify and categorize the quality of the culture and the health of the culture, and be able to predictively model whether it's going to get better or worse in the next period of time, so that we can correct the environment in which the organism's growing in to make it grow faster and produce targeted synthesis of our products. But we also use AI and machine learning in other areas, from the production systems that we use. So in our factories, in our biomanufacturing process, we use AI and machine learning to self-optimize and automate the bioprocess to make it more efficient, more scalable, and more repeatable to produce these microorganisms at scale. And that essentially drives into the cost benefits that we can produce using these systems. And then in the discovery and the optimization process, what we essentially needed to build was when we started being able to cultivate these species at large scale, and then enabled us to grow a whole range of species that have never been grown before. And so nobody's ever really looked inside or done any genomic sequencing or any metabolomics profiling. And so when we started doing this, because we had the ability to grow these species, we then found that the sheer number of chemical metabolites that we were finding within these species was just too immense for us to understand or identify what the real commercial opportunities were. So our software team built an AI system, AI platform that enabled us to take those chemical profiles and be able to identify and categorize which are the most valuable opportunities for us to go after. And that's really opened up a whole new opportunity for us using microalgae as the production system. So really utilizing it in very targeted areas where it makes it easier for us to identify what the commercial opportunities are, but then also in the production systems to be able to make it more efficient, more repeatable in the production, to get those costs down to where they need to be for commercial and industrial scale applications.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting to me about it as well. The one thing that I look at with the ability to sequence, sort of anything in our environment, I feel like we're learning so much more about the things around us, and what you just said. I mean, you think about something as basic as algae, right? That there are many different varieties, and it shouldn't be as surprising as it probably is as well, that we're learning along the way, what's available in our environment, that it could actually also continue to help us throughout time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's a super diverse set of organisms. There's potentially millions of these species, and we've identified 300,000 in our collection. We've got about 200 strains in our collection, and out of that, we've identified over 6,000 chemicals. And out of those 6,000 chemicals, we've found about 620 of those commercially feasible and commercially valuable in current use. So we're just starting to peek inside what the opportunity is, and with the use of our technology and the capability to really start to look more broadly across these species, we're going to be able to find whole new molecules and be able to drive both costs down in existing molecules, but also look to see what new and exciting molecules we can use across different verticals as well.
Amazing. And what types of companies or what types of customers do you have inside of life sciences? What are the companies that normally would approach you and work with you?
Yeah, so in life science, we're very early on. We're more of a consumer-facing business at the moment in food, agriculture, and cosmetics. But we are looking long-term into the life science sector and the pharmaceutical sector, obviously with our oral fertility treatments. Obviously, the gestation period in the development time is much longer out, and so our business model and business plan is to really drive into areas where we can create significant value as fast as we possibly can while we're developing out those large opportunities in the pharmaceutical sector. Look, we envisage to have very targeted applications with targeted business models to go to market with. So, particularly with our oral fertility treatment, there's opportunities to go direct to consumer there, but also we really enjoy partnering with some of the largest players in the world, and we don't see the therapeutic space being any different to how we approach the other sectors currently. But look, we're still in an early phase of development, Don, and we've got a long way to go yet. But we're hoping for products to come online into the market space over the next couple of years in consumer goods, and then as we're progressing our products through clinical phases in the therapeutics for animal health and human space over the next few years, hopefully we can penetrate that market in the near term.
Excellent. And how big is the company now? How many people do you have?
Yeah, we've got 30 people in the company currently. Our base is here in Australia, so we're situated in Australia, and we've decided to set up R&D operations here. We've now grown out to 2 demonstration facilities here in Australia and pilot operations as well. So we really span everything from product development, from ideation and single cell cultivation, all the way through pilot development and into large scale delivery of industrial scale applications as well. So we're really a one-stop shop for product development all the way through to large-scale manufacturing. And that enables us to be very targeted in how we engage with our customers as well, from doing joint development agreements to bring products through ideation all the way through to manufacturing, but also develop internal products as well. And that allows us then to drive through into direct-to-consumer markets. So about 30 staff at the moment. 2 facilities, one agriculture and cosmetics grade facility, and we're also building out a GMP therapeutics grade facility to produce our genetically engineered products over the next couple of years as well.
Nice. Yeah, it's when would you target completion of the GMP facility?
So the GMP facility is targeted for completion next year, and then obviously we'll go through a series of events to commercialize that facility and have that registered and bring that through with products coming online. So there's a little bit of a stage gate scenario with that as well. We expect to use that GMP facility to drive in food and cosmetics grade products early on, and then as that gets commissioned and validated through, we'll then drive into genetically engineered products into the animal health space, and then those products hopefully will move through into the human therapeutic space as well.
Nice. So I love to take the time that I have with each of you as leaders and just to ask a few sort of targeted questions about you and things like that, just so that we get to know a little bit more both about you and kind of your journey as a leader. What is the greatest leadership advice that you've ever received?
Yeah, well, look. I'll admit I'm fairly early in my journey. I would hopefully consider myself fairly young in the space, but after almost 20 years in commercial space, but as a founder and CEO, still fairly early in my development. Look, there's a couple of things that come to mind, and these are very simple things that most people know off the top of their head, but I like to think about this on a daily basis, and really, particularly as an early stage company trying to build a startup and being an entrepreneur, I think it's very important, as well as you're building teams and building culture, to lead from the front and show up every day. And I think that's really critical when you're building something from scratch, and building small teams that are able to execute and deliver. In high pressure environments, starting a business and starting a company is really difficult to do, and it takes a monumental effort from the team that you're able to build. And I think in order to bring people along for the ride, and actually get the most out of a team and actually build a successful team, you have to lead from the front, and you have to show up every day. And I think as well, another key thing is really don't be afraid to make hard and difficult decisions quickly. Being in a startup, and being in an environment like this, nobody waits for you, and things can get out of hand very quickly, and you've got to be very decisive, and often make those difficult decisions, and don't be afraid to do that. It's always difficult to do, and you should have empathy, and you will always feel that empathy, and you will always feel the difficulty, but you've got to then show up the next day, and you've got to make sure that you back your decisions, and you bring everyone on, and you communicate very well. And if you can do that, then you have the ability to build a good culture and bring people along with you. So they're just a couple of things which sort of stick out in my mind that I try and implement on a daily basis.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I definitely, oftentimes see a lot of leaders, toil over, the decisions that they have to make. And at the same time, logically, it may make all the sense in the world, but then you start to bring in, your human side, and start to consider, the fact that some of your decisions, impact other human beings as well in your team and things like that. And so it becomes, more and more challenging, I think, for leaders, especially, as you move forward in your career as well.
Yeah, I think procrastination is a killer, Don, and if you wallow on things for too long, it can really affect a business. And I think a lot of the right decisions deep down, and particularly when taking opportunities, and taking advantage of opportunities, they're often the quickest decisions that you make, and that they're the right decision, and you've got to make them on the spot. And oftentimes, success and failure is determined by how well a founder or an entrepreneur can pick those good opportunities and take those opportunities. And sometimes it's very difficult, but when you get those opportunities come up, you've got to snatch at them, and you've got to go for it. And that's what it's all about. Sometimes you've got to pivot, sometimes you've got to move, but deep down, you've got to trust in your ability, and trust in your team's ability to execute as well. And I think, yeah, always keep in mind that procrastination kills startups. So you've got to make a decision, whether it's right or wrong, and you've got to go. And if it is the wrong decision, learn quickly and get to the next one, and keep moving.
Yeah, absolutely. So there are three questions that I like to ask every guest. What inspires you?
This is pretty cliche, but my kids inspire me. I was being very fortunate with the previous career that I had, to travel to some of the most beautiful places in the world, and experience some of the most diverse marine environments on planet Earth, and be in some of the most remote locations in the world. And that really, the reason why my kids inspire me is being able to see them, and the youth of today, and the power of youth, and how it can change the direction of where we're going, and linking it back to sort of what I've seen over the last 20 years, and more so what I now see with the decline in the environment, and the decline in the natural world. It's happening at a rate of knots, which is really startling. And it's quite significant. And so, but what I see and what inspires me is the youth have the ability to move quickly. There's an essence of naivety there, where nothing is unachievable, and I think we need that right now with where we're sitting. and we need to move quickly. And that really inspires me, looking at my kids all of the time and the younger generation, and the ability for them to really take hold of this and move quickly. And that inspires me to do what I'm doing every day, and try and create that change and make a better environment, or curve the trajectory that we're on currently.
Yeah, I think about I feel as if the oceans are an early barometer for what is to come, right? And whether it's sort of the decline in some marine life, the decline in some of our coral reefs around the world, the shrinking of the ice caps, all of these things are indicators and good barometers of, hey, things are not going in a direction that they should be. And it seems to me like the planet is trying its best to correct itself. But it's working, across a variety of, challenges as well that we've already put in front of it. And so having a generation to continue to think about these problems and how do we solve them, because they're going to continue to be problems, I think is a great, great thing to have, and a generation that, also takes the seriousness and the understanding that we have to move at light speed as well to try and fix some of these things.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah, it's definitely one of those things that plays on the mind, and I think that's a big driver for myself and the team that we're building here, and trying to make an imprint on changing the direction that we're on. And I think, little changes make a big difference, and the more people that are making little changes are gonna have a significant impact. So, there is time, and whether humans are here or not, the planet will continue on. And I think if we can really move quickly to change the way that we're operating on the planet. I'd love to be able to get back to, when I was a child, and have those things that, myself growing up on the coast, and being in the water all of the time, and seeing, the beautiful environment that I had when I was a child. And that's moving pretty quickly in the wrong direction now, and it's pretty startling. And I think, the youth really have to be the drivers in this. And I think it's the ability for all of us to move quickly. And I think if there's enough of us, adults and people that care, that have the ability to move, we can get this done. But it is going to take a monumental shift.
Absolutely. What concerns you?
Well, we just went through what my major concerns are, and it plays on my mind a lot. But I think what concerns me is that we can't move fast enough. And it's not because we don't have the technology, and it's not because we don't have the means or the knowledge, but these, external factors often slow progress. And I think our ability to move quickly is really the key here. And that really does concern me, that we're not going to be able to move at the speed in which we need to, and we're not going to be able to grow and build things out as fast as we need to. And that's going to affect how things move over the next 2, 3, 4 decades if we don't move quickly now. And so, that is a real concern for me. I feel that there's a big capacity for talented people to implement technology very, very rapidly. And we do see things, coming forward extremely fast when there's a need. But the ability to take hold of that, and have the right drivers in government all the way through to investment to be able to move that as fast as it needs to move. We're just seeing those cogs starting to turn, but we need to get them turning a lot faster. And if we can do that, then we might have a chance here. But we've got to keep pressing, and it's a relentless pressure to do so. It's something that we all need to feel, that relentless pressure. And if we do feel it, then we can move.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for sharing that. And the last question, what excites you?
Yeah, what excites me is building a great business with great people that can create tangible value. I think that's what gets me out of bed every day, and that's what really excites me. Is building something tangible that you can hold in your hands and you can be proud of, and building a great business with people that you want to spend your time with, and be on a mission together with, to drive that change. that's really exciting for me, and the ability to completely think outside of what the norms are, and completely change the mindset of what's been done before, and break outside that box, and be comfortable in an area that is really unknown. I think that's really key. It's one of our core values here at Provectus, is being uncomfortable in the unknown, and oftentimes the vast majority of everything we do has not been done before. It hasn't been known before, and so it takes a different type of person to be comfortable in that situation. And fortunately, I feel very comfortable, and I actually enjoy that and get very excited about it. And so that's an area where I want to surround myself with like-minded people who have that same enthusiasm and same excitement to break new bounds, and do new things that are going to have that are going to change the way we think about producing materials, or doing anything that we're doing, really. And that's what excites me.
Yeah, I think about any 30-person company, right? I mean, you probably saw it at 10 people, and even again at 20 people. But I mean, the sort of managing the unknown is kind of the flavor of the day, I would say, in terms of the way that things normally go. And then on top of it, you're managing cell cultures, as well. And so that again, you I'm sure you get a lot of things thrown at you just from natural biology that essentially you're having to deal with as well.
Yeah, it's very different. My previous career, with the company I was with previously, we had about 3,000 employees under management, and scattered throughout 9 locations all throughout the Southeast Asian, Indonesian archipelago. And so going into a startup and building teams, I was relatively good at building teams in a large organization, and then jumping in and building small teams. It's a different feat, and you've got to work with different challenges. But I think you've got to be the ultimate problem solver on a daily basis, and the better the problem solver you are, the better the business is going to be. And so I try to be a learning machine every day, and say, look, I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I'm going to learn, and I'm going to be really quick and open to learn. And if I do that well, then we've got a chance of success here. And the better we're all at that, being a little bit humble, and leaving the ego at the door, the more that we can implement that, and more that we can say, what, we actually don't know very much, but we're going to learn extremely fast, and not going to make the same mistake twice. And if you can do that in 50% of your working career, then I think you can make a success. So, let's try and drive up that rate of success.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much again for sharing that. And Nusqe, thank you so much for being on the Life Science Success podcast. I greatly appreciate you being here and for telling us about Provectus and everything that you're working on. I'm excited to kind of see the time to come, and your GMP facility, going live and things like that will be a good reminder, as well, of our conversation. So thanks a lot for being here.
Don, pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks a lot.